Hey, hey, hey. I hope everybody's doing good. Carl Bryan coming at you with my boy Pat, Kenyon Pat. What's happening, buddy?
Well, I've been enjoying the sunshine, but it's close to midnight now, so the sun's gone. The brain is still active.
Close close to midnight, folks.
Yeah,
Talk
doing
about
well.
dedication. Hope you guys appreciate this crazy guy. All right.
I'll tell you,
Anyway, we got
Carl, I haven't,
oh you go, buddy.
I was going to say, I got to let you in on a little secret here. I'm really at my best between about 1 and 1:15 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I know, I hear you. Good. We missed his 15-minute window, folks. And my window's not that much better nowadays. No. All right. Okay. So, and once again, folks, everybody listening, this is a Q and A call. Your guys' job is to provide the Q. Pat and I provide the A. And we've got something sexy and fun we're going to show you guys. So that's going to be pretty cool. Something we've been working on behind the scenes for quite a while here. So we'll introduce you to that. But Pat, I think before we do that, why don't we open up a couple lines and say hello? What do you think? Sound good?
Sounds good. Yep, I'm just
Where are
going to
we
run
going to
and get my
go?
better internet cable, and I'll be back in a sec.
Okay, no worries. I'll say hi to a few folks. Who do we got here? Dyron Dessa. We're coming for you, buddy. You're self-muted. Say hello, Dyron. If you want to say hello, that is. Got to unmute yourself. There he is. Dyron, you're live. What's
Hi,
happening?
hi, Carl. All good. Um, Using the techniques I learned in the training with Holly and Pat, and going good so far.
All right. How was the training? I've got a bunch of coaches here listening. Inspire them. If it was, give us the 101. How was it?
Well, it's 11 out of 10. For me, I hadn't even used the training of PS before I started with Holly, and it gave me enormous confidence. And I've done about 5 or 6 calls after that. They've gone pretty well, and I think without the training, I wouldn't have been so confident. And I can only recommend that it's a no-brainer. At that price, it's ridiculous. And I mean, $97. Pat's crazy. He should double that or triple that, because it gives you
No.
so many inputs on so many different levels. You know,
Yep.
how to close, how to be confident about your price. I mean, the basic structure is okay. Most people can get by it, but it's at the end most coaches falter, including myself, and
Yeah.
especially myself. And you know where your weak spots are, and then you can practice with that.
Yeah.
So I think it's really essential for everybody to go through it, unless you're already, cracking 6 figures.
Gotcha. And where was your weak spot, Dyron?
At the end, I'm very bad at asking for money. I'm
Yeah.
very good
Okay.
at
No good.
finding money and helping people, but after
Yeah.
that I kind of fizzle out, and that's where Patrick really drilled down and got me to look
Yeah.
at that very carefully.
Very, Dyron, just so you know, no doubt you know this, but do not feel lonely. That is super common. A metaphor that I often give, and this is I played my dad's a professional gambler, and like my dad's best pool player you've ever seen. I guarantee that. He kind of sucks nowadays because he can't see the balls, but he's still amazing. He'll still kick my butt. But anyway, so I played some pool in my day, and here's what happens with ridiculous predictability is that people will shoot one way until they get to the 8 ball. And honestly, I can, because like you can see they shoot differently on the 8 ball. Why do they shoot differently? How do they shoot differently? What happens? Their breathing pattern changes. Dead set. If you can read breathing patterns, you will see somebody shooting the
Yeah.
8 ball. They will change their breathing pattern. When you do your presentation, when you're giving, you breathe in a certain nature or a certain way because that's your nature and you're a very giving guy. When it comes time for you to take, because that's the money, right? There's a shift, right? Like same way they're shooting balls, and the 8-ball means more, right? They don't start breathing differently on the 8, because the reason is because they're worried about losing now, right? Like they don't want to plunk the white in, they don't want to scratch, and all of a sudden leaving. Because in pool, it's not what you make, it's what you leave, is what they say, right? Well, if you leave the 8-ball, if you just miss and then you leave the 8-ball right in front of the pocket, this is really bad, right? So all of a sudden you start changing, you're changing the way you play, changing the way you think. The bottom line is that your breathing pattern changes. Your breathing pattern changes when you go into the close, because you go from giving to effectively taking, and that's the problem. So I want to encourage you to think about that as you're doing it. And then, so if you were to ask me, so that's the problem, what's the solution? Back in the day, I would always my coaches would get up and we would do, we called marketing boot camps, which is your guys's, the 2-hour presentation you do at the chamber, or a webinar that you do. Instead of practicing from beginning to end, start at the end and go towards the beginning. Like, in other words, start with your close. And the simple reason is that I want you to practice your close 20 times instead of only 3. And when you start at the beginning in training and go towards the end, if you train 20 times, you probably only get to the end 5 times, because whatever, you just get pulled away, you stop, you don't like the middle, you start again, etc. So when you're practicing your PAS, start on the close, Dyron, would be a little hack that I'd give you. But do you agree with that? Do you understand what I'm saying? And any thoughts, Dyron?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's a lot about mindset. It's a lot about self-worth. And as you said, it's very common with coaches, people don't like asking for money. And it's something we got to get over, because if we don't, we're going to be hungry. So, yeah, I completely get what you're saying, Carl.
And Pat, do you agree? Any comments, any thoughts on that one?
No, I absolutely agree. It's interesting, as I watched Darain, working with Holly there, and I've been watching, listening kind of in the background for coaches as they work with Holly, and I see the progress as they go through. It's quite amazing to see their confidence level come up. So I, 100% agree with Darain.
Cool. All right. Anyways, Dyer, well, that's good. Any more feedback, any questions on the software, buddy?
No, the software is fantastic. It's a great framework, and I've also studied J. Abraham quite a lot over the years. I think it's a brilliant, interpretation of his work, and it helps. This is the best software available, and I look at a lot of stuff globally. There's nothing close to this, so I think it's great. I don't use the book system and the stuff you'll recommend. I've created my own system, and I just take a second to explain it. 82% of businesses fail because of cash flow issues. The 99% of business owners use the accountant's approach, which is to look at cutting costs and improving receivables. But as marketers, we look at a different approach. We look at creating cash flow, not cutting your jugular. And
100%.
That's where the PS comes in. You look at 40 issues and you fine tune them by 3 and 5%. And that, for me, that pitch works brilliantly, just the way I work.
Yep. I love it. Yeah, I always say business owners, they don't go out of business. They only go out of business for one reason, and that is running out of money. They don't go out of business because they're running out of ideas, of strategies, of future potential, future sales. They go out of business because they run out of cash. The end. So I agree 100%, Dyron. Very good. So, buddy. All right, man. We're going to put you back on mute. We appreciate you, bud. Yep. Dyron, always good feedback. We get a couple hands up. That's what we like to see. Jonathan is up next. Jonathan, you were self-muted.
Hello, hi, Carl. Can you hear me?
Hey. Doing great. How you doing?
I'm very good. Thanks for asking. Very, very good. So I've got a few questions on the software. So I'm going to fire them away one by one. Sure. First one is I've started using it. And when I put in the price, so I started looking at price increase. So I put like 2% increase, and the prices, the profit was all fine. Then I went and put 6% and said I'm gonna have some client attrition. But then the calculation got stuck. It didn't move at all. So I don't know whether it's a refresh issue or whether I'm doing something wrong there.
Okay, so are you on Chrome?
Am I on Chrome? Yes.
Google Chrome.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so throw Chrome in the trash. Sorry. This has been an issue for a long time, and I think we've covered this probably half a dozen or a dozen times. The software does not work well on Chrome. There's issues that the developer can't fix. And so, you might fix it with refresh, but we recommend Microsoft Edge or even Firefox or something like that. But Chrome is the one browser we've had a lot of problems with. So that would answer that question for you.
Right, no problem. So I'll try Microsoft Edge and see.
It'll serve your questions upside down sometimes. There's no reason for it. Like I've come in the software and I've looked at, say, valuation, and my questions were starting at question number 10 and going to 1, and like, how did that happen? Very confusing for me. So it was just the developer said, oh, it's Chrome issue. It just doesn't do well in Chrome. So that's the answer.
Got you. Thank you so much.
John, that's not just us. It's very common for software to have challenges on in what do you call it, in Chrome. That's why.
No problem. And the other things I came across, another implementation section. I went there to look at the step-by-step guide to implement the breakthroughs that we've come about, but mine didn't work. I didn't see this screen that you're showing now. So there's no clickable links. It might still be the Chrome issue. I'm not sure.
It's going to be Chrome then, yeah.
Okay, no problem. And the third question, strategy guides. I only saw 4 industries. I was looking for one for a remodeler.
Okay, so these strategy guides are simply here. We just put 4 here, and we put these here as really sales tools. So when you are working with a prospect, you can click on one of these and open it up and say, this is the kind of marketing I'm going to build for you. Now, the key is here, if you're working with a remodeler, and even if you had remodeler, you don't open up remodeler, you would open up daycare or dentist. The reason is, if you're working with a remodeler and you open up a remodeler, he'll be more prone to say, oh, I've tried that already, that won't work. I've tried that already. But if you open up a dentist and say, look, here's what we built for a dentist, and say, we'll do something similar for you. And then the magic, of course, is in the process of finding out for him what the key solutions are. So same with turnkeys. We've got all the different turnkey ideas in here, and say, look, this is what we built for a dentist. Now you're a remodeler, but this is the kind of thing we'll build for you. And then, of course, in your e-learning center, you can go in and find out if you've got something in there for a remodeler, you can just go and you've already got the templates here and how to build those for the remodeler.
Okay, brilliant.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. So I presume if you've got a dentist, then you're stuck, right? You've just got it there and there's nothing you can do.
Well, no, actually, let's say you're working with a dentist. I'd be on summary screen, and then I would freeze my screen here. I'd pause sharing. I'd go in here, and I'd open up daycare, and say, I failed to load PDF because I've got a different download manager there. Let me go back to this one then. I'd open up daycare, and then I'd unpause my screen and say, look, here's the kind of marketing we built for a daycare. We could do the same for you. So that's how it worked there. And then, go back. It's like, oh, it's amazing. Then you might close them on ROI. You come back to ROI. You unfreeze your screen. So, yep, that's how you'd work that.
Brilliant. Thank you. Two more questions for me. I know I'm taking a lot of time, but just 2
You're
minutes.
good.
I
That's
promise
all right.
you I'm done. The other one is when I was going through the financials, the industry section, I couldn't find a remodeler. Don't know whether I've missed it or whether it's missing somewhere.
No. So the issue with this industry is at the time we found the most comprehensive list we could find that included net and gross profit margins. We realize it's a limited list. I think there's 100 and something in here, but it's still a limited list. So if you can't find what you're looking for, you click the first one, which would be other. You go and do your research and you find out what that, if it's for a remodeler, you just Google net profit margin for remodelers and gross profit margin for remodelers. Go and do that research ahead of time before you actually meet with that prospect, and you enter those numbers in there. And then, of course, you look impressive by saying, look, I've gone ahead and done some investigation here for your net profit margins and gross profit margins for your industry. Here's what they are. And they go, oh, I didn't know that. So that's how I'd use that.
Okay.
And if you haven't done that, Jonathan, in some cases, like just go 20 and like just go net profit margin 20% and then do gross profit margin 50, and you'll be, you know, it's not gonna be right, but it's gonna be that's like a, you know what I mean? The template, just go 20-50, and you'll be, you know, in the ballpark.
Which leads to my next question, actually, because I'm an accountant here in the UK, and I do compare businesses, their profit margins and stuff. And I use a website called Statistica. So I was asking, the ones that you've already got, where do they come from, and how accurate are they?
What's that, the net and gross?
Yeah. I'd have to go back and do the research. We pulled it from one list, and how accurate are they? They might be for North America. It might be a couple of years old. I'd have to go back and find that for you. So I'd say, if in doubt, if you go and look and say accounting services, which is you're in, which is net profit margin 9%, gross profit 88, which, I mean, for me it seems logical. But if you think that's wrong, then what I would do is just click the other and find out the research for your country, because it might be different in different countries as well.
And when I click on other, is there a way I can put other, maybe put accounting or remodeler or something else, so that the client knows actually this is not other, but it's actually for your industry?
Yeah. So over on the right, there's a little bubble here. You can click that bubble. You can add a note to saying this is for, you know, XYZ industry, and save that. And now your bubble turns green, and you'll have that as a note that you can reference later.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. That's me done. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So welcome.
All right. Cool. Jonathan, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, man. You're in the UK, correct? You in London? Where
I
are
am.
you?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
London?
London, yes. West London. Yeah.
Cool bananas. London, you crazy bugger. That's a cool city, man. There you go. All right, Jonathan, we're going to put you back on mute. Good job, and some great questions from an accountant, no less. We love accountants around here. Okay, Stephanie German. Stephanie German, you are live.
Hi. Okay, so is this Patrick that I'm speaking with?
Carl,
Patrick,
much more handsome.
Perfect, and Carl. Okay. Well,
I got the nasally. You can tell the difference. I've got the nasally voice, Stephanie. So.
Got it. This is the first time calling into one of these. So I did a Jumpstart 12 yesterday. First of all, I'm a new LPW coach. So I have a friend. He's a business owner, but he's also on the board for the rescue mission here in town. And he's like, hey, let's do it on the mission. I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it on the mission. And so obviously we did the mini audit at first, and then, I put the information in, and I realized quickly, and they don't have a cost of goods sold, right? They're a nonprofit. So obviously they want to increase revenue so they can offer more services. But my question lies in, is it going to affect the outcome of the assessment, or did it? Because I did it with him yesterday, and I'm doing a follow-up with him today. And then is there a way around that, or do we just focus on the revenue aspect of it instead of the profit, because there is no new profit?
Can you explain what the mission does? This is a really intriguing question for me. Like, how do they make revenue in the mission then? Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's all donation based. So
Okay.
instead of going through the buyer's journey, I talked about it as a donor's journey. So what they do, this particular mission, they don't all function this way, but they focus on the whole person. So someone who, they might be homeless, they might have an addiction, they might come to the mission, this individual might come to the mission because they just need a place to stay for the night, or they need a warm meal. So, so they are, they're actually in a really unique position. We have in California this high-speed rail that was going right through their old property. So the state of California basically their property, and they're relocating. And they're relocating to a place where they're going to be able to have adventure to give their clientele all of these services that they need. It's an incredible situation for them. Now, they don't have a cost of goods sold, right? They have expenses, but they're not selling a product to anyone. Right. They are simply getting donations, which, so many things within the software relate to a nonprofit, the marketing system, right? But not necessarily in the profit and the cost of goods sold.
It's fascinating. I've never even thought of this for a nonprofit before. So I just like to see what happens here. Let's say we take question 3. What's the company's current gross profit margin? And we said 100. So let's see what happens to our numbers here. We got expected increase in revenue. That's fine. It'll be the same. Current profit 200,000. Total profit impact is 354. And it just goes to 638. So that means that if you brought in this case, you've got $1 million in donations. You brought an extra $618,000 of donations, and you used a net profit margin. Maybe you got all these expenses before. You're making 200,000. I don't know if you bank that or how you work that with a nonprofit. I have no experience with that, but total profit impact is now 638 because everything else you make looks like it's going to. Does that work like that? 638,000.
Now let me pull up.
It doesn't look right, but.
So I can tell you what.
Carl, do you have any insight on that? I'm just going to refresh that and see.
Yeah. So, well, I can tell you that. Here's an example, a little bit off topic, but potentially really helpful. Like at the end of the day, these guys need to earn revenue so that they can give out more meals and help more folks, right? Pretty 101-ish. So
yep. Mm-hmm.
What they need from you is they need clever ways to generate revenue. Okay. So generally speaking, what these guys have is normally a sales force, big time, that the average private business doesn't have access to because of all the volunteers and the phone, the phone room that they've got and the door-to-door knockers, right? So here's what I've done before is like, you go to a magazine as an example, and let's assume that it's a popular magazine, and let's assume that this is a, children are closely aligned with this mission. So they go to a magazine that, and it's called XYZ Child, right? Like and it goes to, moms and kids. Well, they get the magazine to donate, call it 1,000 subscriptions. Okay. And let's say that the subscriptions sell for $100 for a 12-month period. And then, so the magazine donates 1,000 subscriptions to the mission. Okay. They get goodwill. They get put on the website. They can say that they've given all kinds of money to the mission, right? And then the mission jumps on the phone and door knocks and basically sells, instead of just phoning and asking for money, what they're able to do is jump on the phone and basically sell subscriptions, right, to the magazine. Well, in the end, the mission gets the money, revenue, obviously, right, the $100 a pop. And then the magazine gets the readership, and ultimately they sell advertising, and the higher the readership and higher the profile, the more they can get for the ads and the more people advertise. So that's the way so if you're going to a charity, this is a really clever way, to make some, to come to them with some really interesting ways of generating revenue. Because again, the magazine, they don't care how many subscribers they got. They're more than happy to print off more magazines, because ultimately readership is the stat that an advertiser wants. Anyway, so do you see how you could do that? And now that's one example. Now think of 9 others, and you've got 10 ways that you can go and help them generate revenue.
Yeah, and doing the software yesterday, there's lots of ways. I looked at their website, I've looked at their marketing material. There's absolutely ways that they could generate more revenue. I just was more curious in the software itself, because
okay, yeah.
No, that's what, I appreciate the example. It's awesome. Yep. But in the, their net profit margin, because again, they're not a for-profit company. At the end of the day, they're raising $5.5 million, and they have about 100,000 left over, but they're not supposed to be for-profit, right? So,
yep.
So in the gross profit margin, I put 0, because they don't have that COGS, right? They're not selling a product. So
yeah, it would be the opposite though.
I see what you mean.
0, you'd put 100.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
There you go. I think it's still. It looks like it still works. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything, because when it comes up on my end, their current revenue is 5.5. We went over 4 areas on the Jumpstart 12. It's going to increase their revenue by $1.5 million, right? But the profit didn't change because I didn't have anything in there for the gross profit margin.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, okay. So don't put 0, Stephanie. Don't put 0 in number 3. Put 100, because everything you're getting is going really to help the people that the mission's helping. So 0 would mean if you get more money, then nothing goes to them. Nothing goes in the bank. But 100 means it all goes in the bank. And that changes your graph completely, because if I put, I don't know if it even takes 0, but it just changed. There's nothing, like you got all new revenue, but profit is almost 0. Almost nothing changing there. So
let's open up Jonathan. Let's open up an accountant. Why don't we do that? Hang on a sec. Jonathan, we're coming back for you. Our accountant in London. Give us some. You watching this? You understand it? What would you say?
Say that again, Kyle.
What would you say? What's your opinion of what we're discussing here?
Yeah. So on the gross profit, I will put 100, because if you put 0, it's going to distort the figures. So what you're saying is that they make 100% because they are not for profit. You just put 100, and then it means all their income is basically their profit. If you put 0, it wouldn't work well. So I would go for the 100%.
Perfect.
Yep. Okay, there we go. All right, straight from an accountant's lips, has to be true, right, Jonathan?
Indeed, Kyle. Indeed, yes. Trusted advice.
Oh, what's that? Sorry, what was that, Jonathan, at the end?
The most trusted advisors, apparently.
That is it, man. And even one from London, no less. All right, buddy. Good stuff, man. Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
We're going to put you back on mute.
Great.
All right,
Thank
there
you.
we go. There we go. Okay, Stephanie, we appreciate the question. Vincent is coming at us with his hand up. Vincent, you were self-muted, my friend. You got to unmute yourself. Vincent, calling Vincent. Okay, open up yourself, Vincent, and we will, oopsie. We'll come back to you, but hang on. Who else are we going to go to? None other than the, oh, is he there?
No, Glenn Smith has had a hand up for a while.
Glenn Smith. Oh, there we go. Glenny boy. Oh, hang on. He can help with the nonprofit. Glenn, you're self-muted. Unmute yourself, bud.
How is that?
There we
Good.
go. Hey, Glenn. How's it going?
Okay. Hey, good. A not-for-profit, so you would treat that very similarly or the same as you would treat a service company. So the service companies don't have gross margins. An accounting firm doesn't have gross margin. They don't have a product that they're producing to sell. And so the same methodologies that whatever you're using in a service company would hold true. And so our accountant friend there would is point on, you make sure that number stays up there, because 100% of revenue collected is then going to go against the other expenses and so forth for the profit. With respect to, and that's not the major issue with respect, that's a major issue on how to use the software, but with not-for-profits, the conversion equation holds true 100% when you're trying to create compelling marketing materials. Let me give you a quick example. My wife works for a not-for-profit that goes into prisons. Now, they bring children of inmates in for a day with their dad or their mother. And so the largest event they do has about 700 kids that come in for a day with their dad. There is no appeal to give money to a not-for-profit that is really working with inmates. It's less sexy than if you're saying we're the other party that's a victim in any kind of crime is the children. That's compelling. It's harder. You can still raise money for, working with inmates and different things that they do, but it's much more sexy, if you will, to give money to help the kids, if you will, to give them a second chance, because the incarceration rate for kids, and Carl, you could probably work this into any kind of marketing stuff that you can imagine once you have the information, but there is a 70% higher probability of incarceration of a child of an inmate than there is of a parent that's not incarcerated. 70% higher.
Really?
So how do we cut down on kids getting incarcerated? We got to work with them. We got to do something for them. So, I mean, that's just an idea and a strategy. So.
Yep. There you go. I like it. Good job, Glenn. We always appreciate you, bud. Appreciate your feedback. All right, we're going to put him back on mute. And by the way, this is a topic we probably don't want to cover today, but I do believe that there's a massive flaw. The way that Glenn just explained, like a service-based company, as in a business coach, not having cost of goods sold. So it's like if you're a business coach, and again, this is a bit of a rabbit hole, but I'm just going to say it. You guys can digest it. Maybe we'll talk about this in another call, Pat. But like if I'm a business coach and I run local live events to get my clients, those local live events, like those rooms, are an absolute cost of goods sold. You know what I mean? And this is where a service-based company, there's a certain, the way that Glenn was explaining service-based company and their accounting, which he is 100% correct. But there is a flaw there, because it's crazy to think that us as coaches don't have gross profit margins. It's nutty. But and for those that don't understand, because cost of goods sold traditionally is that if I build a house, or I build a shed, the wood is a cost of goods sold. It's a hard good towards building it. So again, the equivalent of that, if you're a business coach running local live events, to think that you don't have gross profit margins is kind of crazy. But anyways, topic for another day, bit of a flaw, but.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's take one more question, then let's show the new update.
Oh, yeah,
on the
we can do.
software.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay, Linda. You are unmuted. Linda, you're live.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for taking this question. I am interested in how you would have handled this. I did a PIS with somebody, and she was saying at the end, it kind of blew her mind about how much she didn't know about her ideal customers and what they're thinking, and it gave her lots of ideas about ways that she might think about developing her business.
Yep.
This was a physical therapist, just to give it some
Yep.
context. So when I got to the close, her head was swimming, and basically she ended up saying, well, nobody can help me if I don't know who my clients are and what I want my business to be.
Yep.
Give me your rundown on what
Yep.
you would have done with that.
100%. Okay, I would zillion%. I would use her exact words in the exact situation to say the first thing that we're going to undertake together, and the first thing that I'm going to personally go to work on, is solving that problem. And in 60 days, that's going to be your strength instead of your weakness. Let's get started.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like she literally told you, because I get it, because you were like, you know what I mean? Like she told you exactly what she needed to hear to get the deal done.
Well, the next thing she went to was worried about the time commitment that it would take to do all of this. And I tried to emphasize, breaking it down into bite-sized pieces, one step at a time. She was just so overwhelmed with the whole thing.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay, so what I say to that one is the reason you're overwhelmed, the reason you don't have any time is because you didn't meet me 6 months ago. What a bummer that is. You know what I mean? You got to, what I just did is I took weaknesses and I turned them into strengths. I took problems and I turned them into reasons. Like she told you exactly how to turn it around and sell her. That's where, see, this is why so when people talk about scripting, right? Adrian, he is the most scripted human being ever in a really, really good way. Like he can memorize a script. He can do a 2-hour script. And I'm like, I'm so jealous, right? Like guy's freaking magic. I need to freestyle, right? But what's important is that the reason you need to have the script, like you asked me my elevator pitch, I can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising, right? Question is, everybody here listening, not just Linda, but can you guys spit it out as easily as I did? 3 o'clock in the morning, wake me up, say, give me your elevator pitch, and I would spit that out without flaw, right? The reason you need scripts for opening, closing, elevator pitches, etc., so that you can concentrate on the other stuff. You know what I mean? So Linda, so when I was sitting with her, you got to be really, and keep in mind, I've done this 1,000 times, right? But you really got to know the process so you can stop thinking and start reading, if that makes sense. That's huge, right? So when she gives you cues, you got to be on the ball and go, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Like if I'm sitting with you and you tell me about your kid named Dave, I promise you, Dave's name is coming up very shortly from my lips to your ears, because I know that's a hot button for you. You are going to start spending more time, quality time with Dave than you've ever spent, because we're going to systemize this thing to a T. You know, you get what I mean there. I mean, a good example, horrible example, you get the idea.
So you're repeating the thing that they just said, but flipping it around.
Exactly. And the way that I do that is because I know my stuff. So I do, like you see Pat, when he uses the software, he's instinctive. He knows it inside out, backwards and right side up, because he's done it. hours and hours and hours. You've got to get yourself to that point for obvious reasons, but the unobvious reason is so that you can stop thinking and start reading when you're sitting with your gal. And if you would have been in reading mode instead of thinking mode, you would have done what I just did. You know what I mean? Where I go, well, that's perfect. Like let's call her Susie. Like, Susie, if there's anything you could say to me right now that would be perfect, it would be this. And I just repeat exactly what she just said to me. Say, we are going to have a fabulous relationship. You are going to love me. I'm going to be invited to your kid's wedding. You know, and I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean? Like, that's the level you take it to. Like, that's, you know what I mean? It's like I literally use her words straight back at her. That's all.
Yeah.
Just can I do one? Oh, keep going, Linda. I want to hear that.
Well, when you say reading mode, you're
okay. What do I? Okay, I want to make a great question. I want to make sure everybody, what am I reading? I'm reading your tonality. I'm reading your speed. I'm reading, if you're on the phone, I can't use body language, so I'm reading tonality, the words that you're using, the words that you're emphasizing, things that you know what I mean? I'm reading I'm not just listening. 7% of communication are the words that you use. 93% is the other stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I'm reading. I'm reading all of that. And body language is magic, but if you're not in front of them, you don't have that option. But I can tell you that you can use, that's what you're reading. That's what you're reading. Again, not just what they say, how they say it. What do they repeat? That kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And by the way, like, the last thing, this was her, like, the problem, like, you just literally explicitly said this was her problem. And by the way, she was squirming and overwhelmed. I would address that. I'd say, I get it, baby. I'm sorry. I know that this is a lot of information. Look, if you weren't overwhelmed right now, there'd be something wrong. You just gave her permission to be overwhelmed. But I'm not reading. But the guy who's not overwhelmed, try do this with Pat. There's nothing, he's not going to get overwhelmed in a million freaking years. So you would never read that, never express that to him, or he'd be like, what? Be like a break in rapport.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you got that, Linda. I want to make sure am I making sense? You understand what I mean by reading?
Yeah. Yeah. Reading the person. Yeah. The body language, the tone.
Everything.
All that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the fact that you remember, you know exactly why she said no. That would be an example. Right. Yeah. But you in the moment, you weren't able to turn it around, and it's now you're like kicking yourself going, shoot, why didn't I say that? Right. So that's an example. And you can go into more reading than having to think about what the next question is. You're going to be able to do that a million times better. And be relaxed. Remember what I said earlier. Don't change your breathing pattern. Be very relaxed, because you'll be more receptive to all the dynamics of the conversation and whatnot.
Okay. That's a good mental framework for me to have as I'm moving into that close.
Love it. All righty. Cool.
All right.
Love it. Love it. Cool. I'm going to put you back on mute over to. Yep. Sorry, Pat, we're going. So, Pat, show us your magic, buddy.
Well, I was just going to maybe let you open it up and kind of give the reason for what we're doing and why we're doing it. Do you want to cover that?
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, just imagine we're no different than you guys in that. What do we say to ourselves? What are everybody's looking idea. Hey, Pat, is this a good idea? Hey, Pat, will this idea make money? Pat's heard that a million times. I've heard that a million times. Martin Howie's on here. You guys all know him. Like, Martin Howie's famous around here, right? He's heard it. Okay, that's the wrong way of looking at growing a business. What do? Change your spidey senses looking for problems. Problems. When people have a problem and you can solve it, you're going to be able to make money. When a lot of people have a problem and you can solve it, you're going to make a lot more money. When a whole lot of very identifying people, like women between the age of 30 and 40, have the exact same problem, this is when you can really solve a problem at a mass scale, and you can build yourself a crushing business. Pat, Adrian, and I, the entire executive team, LPW, we're all in the same boat. Lead generation is a major problem, and that would be stating the bleeding obvious. So what we have done is we have created, and I want you to look at the left-hand side of Pat's page there, lists. So basically, we are going to be creating lists, and we're not talking about lists that are bought from some, lame broker who collected some phone numbers one time. These are live lists that we are basically undertaking with a reasonably complex process. We're going to be building some lists, and you guys are going to be able to buy them, and you're going to buy them for probably about 20 per, I don't know, significantly cheaper than I think you would otherwise think they'd be available. So we have created this. We've been behind the scenes working on a lot of stuff. This is one of the projects that we've been undertaking. The guys have done their magic, and basically it is officially live as of now. So basically that's what we created, and Pat is about to show you. And Pat, would you expand upon that? Anything you'd add? You'd agree?
Well, I think sometimes we waste so much time thinking, man, I just wish I had a good list in front of me, and I've done this myself. I've burned so much time of my time thinking, hey, I'm going to go out and get a list. I'm going to create lists. I'm going to, look on the web and, start copying and pasting and putting them in a spreadsheet and all that stuff. And I've also bought lists before, which were mostly useless. And I think I'm a coach. I want to make maybe, let's say, I want to make $200 an hour, for example. Well, how many hours do you burn to create a list of 50 people? I mean, that's going to take you how long? It's going to take you a whole day sometimes to get a good list. And if you're trying to make $200 an hour, it doesn't make sense to go out and create your own list. So we just created this service for you. I'll show it to you. You've got this list link on the left. We've also got a new icon here next to the home icon in the top right. So you can click either one of those. So here we go. It says request your prospects list. We might have to fix some of the grammar in here, but basically we are offering the most up-to-date live lists for you and your lead generation efforts. We do not rely on outdated databases. We perform live searches in your preferred area on your behalf at the time of purchase. What you receive: full name, company name, physical address, email address, and or phone number, plus their LinkedIn profile. I'm going to show you that right now. I'm going to bring this up on your screen, what this list looks like, just so you have an idea of what you'd be getting. So here you can see, I might just make it a little bit bigger to make sure you can all see it well. People that are failing in their eyesight or they have a small screen. So we're going to give you, this is actually a live list we did. So if you're watching the recording, you can go after Michael Jones, the dentist. But, so, well, yeah, first name, last name, title, company name, their website, their LinkedIn profile URL, their email, number one. They might have a couple emails. Their AI, email AI. So this is kind of some artificial intelligence that's built in that goes and pings that email to make sure, is it working, and how often is it working. So maybe this guy here, John Dot at birdeye.com, it looks like there's a problem with that. But and it looks like the John Dot would be the problem. But here's the other. So sometimes they have a second email that we've been able to find. In many cases, there's a phone number, sometimes a second phone number. So if we find a contact, but they don't have an email and they don't have a phone number, they don't have one of the two, we just delete it. But we want to make sure we deliver at least the email, possibly a second email, and or a phone number. And ideally we'd have both, but at least we're going to have one or the other. And then the contact location where the city is. So this was based, I think I did it out of the zip code 94945, which is Novato, California, which is where I used to live. That's how I know that zip code. And I did it with so many miles of that. So it also picked in Petaluma and Mill Valley and different places. So now back to our software. Delivery time 2 to 3 days. It's not an instantaneous thing. We don't just go in and buy a list for you. This is a live search. So what you do is you click on the size that you want. The minimum would be 250. It's going to cost you, we have cost per lead here, so this would be 75 cents a lead. That's your cost if you did that. What we're trying to do is saying, hey, if you want to double that up, it's not going to double the cost. It's not going to be whatever that is. It's not going to be, I can't do that math in my head, but $400 or under 375 bucks. It's now down to 295. Again, if you double up 500 to 1,000, you're not going to go 295 to 590. It would be just 450. So it's kind of an advantage to go with more. You click one of those, you go to next step. It's quite intuitive. Select your location. You can do that, or you can do by zip codes. And if you can put in several zip codes, and if you have some in your area that you like to target. And once you've done that, you'll go next step. You can click on your top 3 preferred industries. Now, what's going to happen? Or you could do, your first choice, second choice, third choice. If I said my first choice and I had chiropractor in there, and you're trying to get 500 chiropractors in your city or your area, your zip code, that would be our first choice. If we can't find 500 good lists, then we'll go to your second choice. We're going to try and fill that out in your second choice. If there's still not enough, we're going to go to your third choice, but our primary search is in your first choice. You might do 3 industries. So I'll just click some at random. Obviously, you do something that's very similar to your skill set. So these are all totally different, but they all start with A, so it worked for me. So then you go next step and your search radius. So maybe you're saying, hey, I'm willing to meet with someone in the 50-mile radius or 35 or 25-mile radius, wherever you want to search that for. Maybe you can go broader if you want to do that. If you do it 1 mile, that's going to be pretty tough for us to find 1,000 people in that industry within your 1 mile. So we should probably even take that off there, but I'd say a minimum 10 miles. And if you're willing to travel a little bit, then of course go a little bit bigger, say 25 miles. Go to next step. Will you allow us to bill your credit card on file? So you click yes. If no, we're just going to say, well, come back when you're ready. I think there'll be a little pop-up there, or we'll give you an email to email a different credit card. But obviously, you want to have a payment ready to do that when you're ready to do that, and you're going to submit this order. I could probably do that. And what it does is it sends, oh, let's see what happens here. There, just added it here at the top. We've got size 1,000, location Colorado Springs, the 3 different industries, and a radius of 25 miles. So these are all pending because we didn't ask our assistant to go and do that, because it's just my account, and she knows that they're not a list that she needs to create. But these are pending. Now what happens is, when this list is delivered, I think you're going to get an email as well to say your list is on the way. It's pending. When this list is ready, this icon at the top here is going to turn green. And what's supposed to happen, if the software works correctly, is that it'll be green until you go in and you'll be able to download that list. We decided not to do a CSV file. We're going to do an Excel file, because the Excel file maintains its formatting. If you want to use that list, and maybe you're going to upload the list to Facebook to do some advertising in Facebook, or maybe you upload it to Facebook and think you can create a lookalike list to get other contacts that might be similar. So if you're targeting dentists, you can do a specific ad for dentists in Colorado Springs, for example. That's how you might use that. Or you've got the phone number or the email, you can contact them. Anyway, that'll be there. Once you've downloaded the list and it's yours, you get to keep it forever. You get to use as much as you want. You're not renting it from us. You own that list. I think the green will disappear and it'll go back to black until your next list is ready. So that's how it works. Yeah, I'm working personally. We'll just tell you right up front. It's William, our developer. It's his wife, Joy, who's also my personal assistant to help plow through my emails every morning. But she's a very bright lady with a degree in human resources, and she's stepped up and is helping us in this. So you might get an email from Joy if there's any issues, but I think most of it is just delivered automatically. Like the emails come automatically, but she's the person doing these live searches and list compilation for you. So that's our list building service. And we're calling this stage 1. We don't know where it's going to go. There might be a stage 2 and stage 3 that we develop out of this at some point in the future. But this is stage 1 of this part of the software. So you can just click on there, or you can click on the top, and you'll see this page will appear. We want to take some questions, comments.
Well done.
Might be the first time you've seen it.
It is. I love it. I love it. Could you do me one more, because I just want to make sure that everybody here, so from this, guys, if you got any questions, just plunk them in here quick. Could you also just quickly go to the implementation? I want to make sure, because we just showed everybody that, and I just want to make sure everybody sees where that is. So could you just watch this, guys? If you haven't seen this, you're going to want to. Or it's actually priorities. Click priorities on an assessment.
Okay.
There we go. And guys, so basically you've got the ability, like, here's your priority list. And could you just take like Drip Campaign or whatever else and kind of whip it up and down? Like if you want to move any of this, you just move that as you so choose. You'll see some are blue and then some are black. If you're wondering why that is, the blue stuff is being worked on now. So you don't want to move something that's blue, because it doesn't make sense that you'd move something that's being actively worked on. So that's why it's blue. But anyways, yeah, very, very, this is a huge upgrade as well. So I just want to make sure that I know there's a lot of new faces that I haven't seen here. I want to make sure you guys also saw this. Actually, maybe you want to just hit one of the icon to the side of market dominating
position. Once you start working on it, it turns blue. And so then you don't want to move things around. But here you've got, just as a quick overview, I think you can go back a couple of weeks and watch the full explanation here. But you've got your client's name, your date that you're working on them, things that you're working on here. You can X things out. You can add new things. This is also going to go through, actually, Carl, in a week or two. We're going to come back to this and make some good changes. Yep. But you can add notes here on the different things of your implementation. You can check things when they're done. You can add things, actions that clients must complete before their next session. You add different things there.
Just click the add another if you could. Could you just click add another to one of those? They can see how that works. Yep. So just add another. Boom. And then you just click add another, and then number 3 would pop up, etc. So yeah, super cool. Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure everybody saw that update as well, as we're in update mode.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, yeah, go back and watch that training. I think it was like 3 weeks ago. I think we've done that, and we are going to revisit that because there are a lot of great suggestions on how to make that whole thing improve. So, absolutely. Good. So any questions maybe around any questions?
Yeah, actually, I might just read this out. Today? Jonathan, he's our London accountant. He just mentioned, he said, Carl, I agree with the point about service businesses and gross profit margin, which is why I'm glad the percentages on the profit acceleration software can be amended. So here in the UK, a standard gross profit margin for an accounting firm is around 66%. But yes, a discussion for another day. So he's just so you guys understand, it's because accountants say that things are going to work one way. I like to push back on these types of things, and I would encourage you guys to be thinking outside. You're helping your clients. The more you understand about this stuff, the more you're going to be able to help. I think there's superpower in not just accepting the norm and saying, okay, because they charge X for a 4-year degree, that's the way it is. So, Steve, does this cover the UK? No, are we doing the UK, Pat? We're only doing the UK. Yes. What's the deal on? We're just doing North. Are we doing Canada as well, or just the US?
No, we're doing the world on lists.
Well, there you go. Okay, Jonathan, the answer is the UK. No problem.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
Eric said right on. Does this list selection use SIC codes or text, just text description, Steve?
Yeah, at this point, I'll have to ask Joy about that, but I think, yeah, what we've seen there is, yeah, I think this would probably be, let's just go here to Colorado Springs. These are, yeah, go through by industry or by keyword, not both, but or. So if you want chiropractors, just say, hey, I want chiropractors. If you want dentists, you can say I want dentists. Just add in whatever you like there. You want doctors, you can put in doctors. We'll go and find them.
So there we go. Okay, so there you go. And again, it's a work in progress, Steve. So that might make sense, but for now, that's the way we got her set up, so that we can be a little more flexible is the idea. Okay, well, there we go. So no questions around that, folks?
Tony Plies has a question.
Tony Plies, where is he? Tony Plies, we're coming for you, buddy. Tony, you are live.
You know, I've always got a question for you.
Go, man.
You may have thought of this, or maybe this is version 2 or 3, but what I'd be looking at or be curious about is you're giving us 3 choices of the category of business we want to go after. What if I want just one category, but I would give you like 10 zip codes to run those numbers through? So, you know, like if I was going to order 1,000, I'd give you 10 zip codes, and would you go through an order of zip codes until you got 1,000 of that one category?
Well, actually, what we do, let me just back up here. So in this area, yeah, if you want to put 10 zip codes, it's fine. What we're going to do is, and let's say next step, we've got chiropractors first. What we're going to do is we're going to look for chiropractors in the zip code.
Right.
And then we'll look for chiropractors in the next zip code, and then the next one. And when we run out, let's say you want 1,000 in that list. When we hit 1,000, maybe we've only gone through 3 zip codes. That's where we stop.
Right. Okay.
And,
no, that's cool.
You know, my goal is we want to over deliver. So my hope is I'm going to deliver you at least 5% more than you asked for, because sometimes you get one, you go, oh man, this guy has just moved. I didn't know about it. And I've I lost a whole lead there. And it was like, after a while, you go like, man, 10 of these weren't any good. So we want to over deliver a little bit there. Now, if we've gone through your 10 zip codes and we haven't got you 1,000, at that point, we're going to go to dentist or whatever you put next. We're going to cycle back through those 10. So, so your first choice would be chiropractor. We're going to go through again first your zip code, your first zip code in order to figure those out.
Okay.
And but the other thing is, I mean, if you want to narrow it, you do that, but then you can also expand it through the search radius.
Yeah. Okay, but I know if I wanted 500 or 1,000, and I knew if I gave you enough zip codes that you're going to easily not be able to cover all of them, then you're just going to stop when you hit 1,000 in those zip codes.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Well, what we'll probably do, just a little insight in the back end. I'm asking Joy to go for 2,000, and then we're going to go through that list of 2,000, and we're going to wean out those who we can't find good enough contact information for them, and so it'll get whittled down to like 1,050 or 1,100 or somewhere in there. I'm not going to promise you a hard number, but definitely 1,000, definitely more than 1,000.
But at least
so we over deliver a little bit.
And on the emails, I'm assuming here then these are not opt-in emails.
No, these are publicly available emails.
Okay.
So yeah, so they're it's not spam if you of course email them, because they've already listed their emails public.
Okay. I was just wondering, if you could put them into a drip campaign.
I don't see why not. As long as you've identified who you are, just follow the spam laws about
Yeah, I mean, I know that if you give them the opportunity to opt out, yeah, you're usually pretty good.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And Tony, when you do that, just do small bunches. That's the secret
yeah.
to not getting yourself in trouble there. Just go small bunches and provide a lot of value.
Get more than I could handle anyway, so that's fine. Yeah.
There we go. Love it. Okay, guys,
Thank
we're
you, guys.
a little bit over here. Probably should have started that a little bit earlier, but I hope that's look, pretty cool addition. You can imagine we're pretty excited about it. I got to tell you, it's been a lot of work to get it to this point. So I think it's pretty impressive. So there you go. You're still pending. You get that list. That list is working hard.
No, that'll be pending because no one's going to work on it.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Anyways, okay, Pat, as always, we appreciate you, man. For everybody here, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you guys playing full out. And until a couple days from now, we'll see you guys on Thursday. So have a great week, folks.
All right. Bye-bye.